Hello YouTube, Button Up Reviews here, and today I'm going to be reviewing A Silent Voice. As some of you may know, A Silent Voice is an animated movie that came out in 2016, and it's based off the manga that goes by the same name. Before we get into the review, you may have noticed some setup changes. Instead of the My Hero Academia poster in the background, now I have two Naruto Shippuden posters, and my keyboard is right there in the background, and I intend on using it in later videos, so look forward to that, I guess. Anyways, A Silent Voice is, honestly, it's a must-watch. Just gonna say that right before we get into it. The bulk of the story focuses around this young boy named Shoya, and what happens is this deaf girl moves to the school that he's in, and Shoya's kind of a punk, right? Like he isn't nice to people, really. Sorry if my microphone picked that up. That was me moving backwards in my chair. But basically, he bullies this deaf girl. He breaks her hearing aids, throws her notebooks in water, and just does terrible things. And then eventually the deaf girl leaves the school, as you do if something like that is happening to you. So there's something to kind of take note of. I had a friend in 7th grade that got bullied really bad that eventually had to leave school because of it, so it happens. But basically, there's this scene after the deaf girl leaves the school where the teacher of the classroom is asking who did it, and the presence in the room is just, it's very suspenseful, because the principal's there, the teacher's there, and the teacher, he goes and he smacks his hand on the chalkboard, and he's like, "Shoya, stand up, we know it was you." And so he stands up, and then all the things that has done are being listed off, and he talks to his friends and the people that did that with him, and all of them end up turning on him, and that's when the second half of the movie kicks in, and it shows Shoya basically growing up and having everyone in his class turning on him being the one that's now being bullied, and his mom having to take out a bank loan to pay for the hearing aids that were broken. And it's kind of a downward spiral for Shoya, because up until this point he was kind of like the invincible ruler of his school. No one really challenged him up until that point. There's this very beautiful visual dynamic that they display in the movie with Shoya, where as he grows up, these people that he surrounded himself with, they get these purple X's with a white outline. They get these X's over their faces because Shoya shut himself, just basically kind of isolated himself from all of these people, as he should, because they were treating him really bad. But in this time, he isn't this kind of extroverted, mean, kind of go get 'em, what's another term, gung-ho kind of kid that he used to be. He's turned into a shy, very depressed, what would happen if you got bullied and everyone stopped being your friend. And there's this one scene where Shoya is getting to school and he's putting his bike away, and then he hears this other guy being bullied, and I guess not necessarily bullied, he's being harassed, and excuse me, it's this tiny dude with this green puffy hair. Mineta from My Hero Academia, the guy with the purple hair that's the balls. It's basically like that, but instead it's green, and it's more kind of all over his head. It doesn't go down. It's just you know what I'm saying. But basically, Shoya goes and steps in and kind of helps him out. And so the reason why this guy was being harassed was because there's this other guy that wanted to borrow his bike, and Shoya goes and steps in and says, "Hey man, you could borrow mine." And so then the guy does, and well, he steals the bike. That's what happened. He steals the bike, um, and basically Shoya and this other guy kind of introduce themselves to each other, and they become friends. And this is, to my knowledge, the first case in the movie where one of the characters loses the X over their face. And when that happens, they always put an emphasis on it. It shows it like peeling off of someone's face, and then it cuts to it like falling to the ground. Like when you drop a piece of paper and it like kind of sways down. That's what it looks like. And it's just, there's so many small details and the animation, and just this movie is beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. I was watching what's the exact name of it? It's this Naruto movie from part 1 of Naruto where they go to the movie's basically filler. It's not canon, but they go to this place called the Land of the Moon, and it's like, after watching A Silent Voice, it's like, I know that the stories are very different, but that movie is just so beautiful with the animation and everything about it. And it just blew me away watching it after not only reading the manga, but watching other anime recently. I was like, everything that I've watched recently, I'm now holding to so much higher of a standard because of this, at least in terms of animation. But basically what happens is, I'm pretty sure a little before Shoya helped this guy out, he went to this place where people learn sign language, and he saw the deaf girl from when he was a kid there. And um, he when he leaves, there's like a, I don't want to call it a chase sequence because that makes it sound creepy, but he kind of does have to chase her down because she like runs away from him, obviously, and he eventually catches up, and oh man, my memory's getting foggy at this moment, but basically, as he's walking home, he's thinking like, do I deserve to talk to her? Like, should I be entering her life? Which, it's a pretty human response. Oftenly with a lot of anime I watch, the characters don't really come off as people. They're just kind of like kind of a cutout, like fictional character. And to see characterization that's like this is just, it warms my heart. It really makes me appreciate the art form. And eventually what happens is, while he's walking home, he finds this coupon that keeps on blowing away, and then there's this scene where he's like walking along the road like trying to pick it up, and eventually he does, and it's a coupon to get bread. And excuse me. And when he was talking to the deaf girl, he noticed that she goes to this bridge and she feeds the carp that are in there. She feeds them pieces of bread, and so he goes and he buys a piece of bread the next day. And then when he comes over to the like classroom, this boy cuts him off. It's later revealed that this boy is actually the deaf girl's younger sister. But basically, after that, the next day he tries again, but this time the dude with the green circly hair shows up and helps him, and then they go and they end up talking and feeding the fish. And that's kind of when the movie really starts rolling and more characters are, I don't want to say introduced, but kind of bought back, because a lot of the characters that end up getting close to Shoya are people from his middle school classroom, which it's kind of conflicting with me because they know what he did, but are they willing to forgive him? That's kind of the main plot of the movie, um, and it it escalates in such a way that when it gets to the climax, the highest point of the movie, I read the manga and even I was like, oh god, what's gonna happen? Like they nail it with execution and everything. It's so good. But I want to put a warning on this because anyone that goes into this movie thinking it's gonna be like happy-go-lucky, it's not. It's not a happy movie. It's very realistic in my opinion, and I think it does have a very rewarding ending. Its ending is beautiful. Like I was on the verge of tears throughout a lot of the movie, to be honest. But it's it's so good. It's just such a good movie. Even if there are very sad moments of it, I totally recommend watching it. Even if you aren't like a fan of sad movies, just watch this movie. It's amazing. The characterization is great. There's some characters um that don't get a lot of time to shine. I don't remember his name, but he was this dude with like red hair and he wore glasses. He didn't really get that much of a time to shine. Um but throughout the main characters, their characterization is really good. What they do makes sense as people, and visually, this movie is beautiful. I love it, and overall, I think that I'm going to have to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I would give it a 10 if there was more characterization with the smaller characters, but seeing as it's already a 2 hour long movie, and that's kind of already like pushing it in terms of movie length, it makes sense. But 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for me. This movie's amazing. If you haven't watched The Silent Voice and you have Netflix, you can just go and watch it right now. At least for me, because I'm pretty sure there are some areas that have like different shows in terms of Netflix. Like Netflix in another country would have something different from like where I live. But if you have a streaming service to go and watch this on, do it now and you won't regret it. This movie is amazing. 9 out of 10. So, that is my review of A Silent Voice. I hope I didn't spoil too much in it. If I did, I apologize. But thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.